بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
I seek refuge or I seek protection in Allah from the accursed shaitan. A'udhu here means more than just seeking protection, it's to hold on to something. The word has a sense of holding on something so tight, it's like how your muscles cling onto your bones. So it's really, really tight. And this is how we seek protection from Allah, by holding on so tightly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Here, I'm going to focus on beneficent. Beneficent is, or think of it, start like this. Anything good or bad that happens to us is not because we simply benefited. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most beneficent. And He's the one who gives us benefit. And so with that, Allah makes us say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim before we begin anything. And so what you expect, anything that follows Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you can expect so much benefit from it.
الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds.
الرحمن الرحيم.
The Beneficent, the Merciful.
مالك يوم الدين.
Owner of the Day of Judgment.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين.
You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
Show us the straight path.
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
The path of those whom you have favored, not the path of those who earn your anger, nor of those who have gone astray. So Surah Fatiha is a dua in itself. We're starting out by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then following that we ask for His protection, His guidance. And so when we're going to recite Surah Fatiha again this time, sincerely make dua that Allah guides us, and not just in spiritually, we need guidance academically or whatever else in our life. So we're going to recite Surah Fatiha and close your eyes and lose yourself in the surah itself. And now that you know what it means, really take it to heart.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So alhamdulillah, we have just begun our journey.
Assalamu alaikum. Are we recording this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if you want to waste the video space. It's okay if you can't find it all. I'll make two. Just turn the volume up and then I'll just use my bass. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, that should be good. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Brothers and sisters, I thank you all for being here today, that you would lend me your ear, and I greet you with the greeting of Islam. Assalamu alaikum. As the sister clearly explained to us, we begin with A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, that we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to seek refuge is a reaction, right? You don't just seek refuge out of nothing. You don't just, no one is initially in a state of seeking refuge, right? Does that make any sense for someone to begin in a state of seeking refuge? For the primary moment of existence of any concept or idea or person or thing to be in a seeking of refuge? No, right? That means that there's something that we are seeking refuge from. We react, right? And humanity has reacted for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, right? We have reacted. And this is significant because when we say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, and we mean it, we intend it, we say that as if there is something that exists. There are many things that exist, that have existed for a long time before we existed. And that will continue to exist a long time after, and there will be people who will come after us, and they will also seek refuge, because there is a state of being. There is a state of mind, and there is a state of the world from which we derive that we need to seek refuge. Right? And who is that refuge? Who would be that refuge? I want to hear from you guys. Tell me, who is that refuge? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Was that simple or was that complicated? Simple. Everything else that I say today is going to be simple. I'll just start off with that. I'm going to try and say it in a way that gets you to give it value, but I'm going to say very simple things today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our refuge. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the person, it is the entity from which we seek that refuge. And we seek that refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we acknowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who can protect us. Right? You don't seek refuge from something that you don't expect can provide you that refuge. Right? Furthermore, you wouldn't seek refuge from something that you think is the cause of your danger. Right? You wouldn't say, I seek refuge in something that I think is the reason for me seeking refuge. Does that make sense? I hope so, right? So if I fear that a Tyrannosaurus Rex is outside, right? I'm not going to then seek refuge in the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I get it, that's very unlikely that there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex outside, but the fact of the matter is that people today, humans, men, women, young and old, brothers and sisters in Islam and outside of it, too often seek refuge in things outside of Islam. They seek refuge in things outside of the guidance of Islam. They seek refuge in things other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And talk is cheap. Right? Talk is cheap. We can talk the talk, can we walk the walk? Right? There's importance to that idea, that what you say can always stand for something, but what you do stands for so much more. Right? And so we say, which is the first step, we say that we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we actually seek refuge in everything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Simple, again, right? We all know this. Right? Some of us, I won't say us, right? Let's assume that everyone here doesn't fall into this trap. But some people somewhere seek refuge in music. Right? They find that to be their refuge. They find that to be their realm in which they have security and comfort and safety. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say something bad about music in general or paint it with a bad brush. I'm just using this as an example. Music may be a refuge for somebody. Right? Other people seek refuge in company, in friends. Right? They hang out with people who they feel safe with, and they feel okay with, they feel that this gathering is a safe space for me, and this gathering is my refuge. Other people seek refuge in wealth, right? So they save tons and tons, thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands, and they just save and save and save, and they have millions of dollars accrued, right? They're not spending it on anything worthwhile. They seek refuge in it, though. They expect that this will save them when danger arrives, right? People seek refuge in education, even, right? Some things that we think of as good things initially, right? People lose themselves in their studies and find refuge in this. People seek refuge in their parents. People seek refuge in a teacher or a trusted mentor. People seek refuge in so many things. I don't want to go on and on with examples, but so many things people seek refuge in. And so many of them are not bad things, right? So many, I haven't said a single thing actually yet that people seek refuge in that is bad. I didn't say people seek refuge in a nightclub, did I? No. Most people don't seek, some people do, but most people don't seek refuge in a nightclub, right? Most people don't seek refuge in murder. Most people don't seek refuge in stealing. Some people have to, maybe. But generically, if I had to paint all of humanity with one brush, which I can't, but generically, just for the sake of argument, people seek refuge in things that are generally acceptable and good things even, right? These are things that bring value to human society. So what's the problem? What's the issue? Why is this something that we even need to talk about? Why is it a problem that someone might seek refuge in poetry, right? Or why is it a problem that someone might seek refuge in being successful in their business ventures and being wealthy? Or someone might seek refuge in the status of their upbringing or the status of their tribe, right? These are all fine things. The problem is that oftentimes the thing we seek refuge from comes from the thing that we are seeking to escape. The thing that we seek refuge from is the thing that is decaying us internally and externally, because we are seeking refuge in it. Simple statement. By seeking refuge in those things, by letting those things encompass our heart, we acknowledge that those things are the things we serve, right? How many of you guys are political science majors here? Just curious. Or social science majors. How many of you have read Machiavelli? Okay, how many of you have read any other texts and political discussions from that time period? Yeah, okay, I think a lot of you will probably be familiar. I'll give you a simple Machiavellian argument actually. Machiavelli has nothing to do with Islam, right? Or maybe he did, we don't know. Machiavelli has nothing to do with Islam, so far as we know. Makes an incredibly impactful Islamic argument. He says that when you utilize mercenaries, when you use mercenaries to fight your wars, you are eventually devoured by those mercenaries. What is a mercenary? It's a gun for hire, right? It's a temporary refuge for a political entity seeking to survive. And they may not have the strength within themselves, so they seek a mercenary to act on their behalf. That mercenary acts, right? And then maybe wins some war on their behalf. And who's the next target for that mercenary? Now that the mercenary has sucked this political entity dry of its capital, because you owe us, right? We did this, we fought this war for you, so now you pay us. Once that payment is done, who's next? Right? It's yourself. You're next. The person who hired that mercenary. So many examples in history back this up, and this is an incredibly powerful Islamic argument, because when you seek refuge and when you seek protection from an entity that you should understand is actually the entity that could destroy you, you lend yourself to that situation. You lend yourself to your own demise. So what does Tazkiyah have to do with any of this? Why start here? Let's backtrack. Tazkiyah, as explained, is the is the Arabic word for